Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Antonellis. I'm the Vice President of Global Marketing and Communications for the MGFA. Welcome to our MGFA speaker series in our webinar focused on how to raise awareness about MG this June or anytime. As you know, June is MG Awareness Month, and we have some guests to talk about how they generate awareness. But let's start out and let's kick things off on this webinar. A little bit of housekeeping first. We want to thank our sponsors who contribute and really help us to make sure that these webinars are really informative and really helpful for members of the MG community. Thank you to Alexion, Argenx, Regeneron, Johnson & Johnson, and UCB. Thank you so much, sponsors. We appreciate it so much. Also, just to make sure that you know, if you want to have the Zoom captions enabled on this broadcast, if you go down to the bottom right, you can see under captions, my speaking language, and you can choose the language that you want to get the captions in, which is really great. If you are not speaking English or would rather not speak English, you certainly can choose one of those other languages. So that's a great feature from Zoom. And so let's kickstart. MG Awareness Month is starting up in June. And it's just an exciting time for us every single year because there's all kinds of new content and information. Members of the community come out and they're really driving awareness all the time. And really, our theme is to turn awareness into action, real action to create change. And by driving awareness and making sure that people around your neighborhood, your community, your colleagues, you're helping to make sure that they understand about the challenges that MG presents to individuals who are diagnosed as well as caregivers. So MG Awareness Month is a huge time for us. We also kick off our Dare to Care fundraiser. We do this every single year. It's focused on community events this year, and there are so many different ways that you can participate to try to raise money for research and to support the various programs that the MGFA is engaged in every single day. For MG Awareness Month, it's so cool. There are so many different ways that you can create awareness. You could work with local media people. You can try to focus on writing an op-ed about the challenges of MG. Certainly, you can write up media alerts, maybe work with your local government on proclamations. Your local and state governments would be able to create proclamations declaring June MG Awareness Month. Also, it's a great way to kind of get out there, talk to businesses, talk to friends and family, and make sure that people understand that June is MG Awareness Month and they should be thinking about those challenges on MG. Every year we get so many great photos from wonderful people around the world who are driving awareness. So people have so many different ideas. Everyone's so creative and so passionate about MG Awareness Month. This year, we have a couple of new things that we're trying here at the MGFA. We're trying to grab awareness on all 7 continents. And we're starting with Antarctica, and our guest Hannah in a couple of moments will talk about that. Pretty exciting stuff. But we want to make sure that we have awareness, driving awareness across all 7 candidates, and we're going to have ambassadors and members of the MG community sharing information about how they are driving awareness on all 7 continents. In addition, the MGFA is proposing and creating images, social media boxes, content that anyone can share. So we always feel that social media is just a great platform, a great way to share awareness because then content and information is spread across audiences. So social media is just a really exciting way to get the word out and making sure that we're driving awareness. And you can do many different, things on social media. You can tell your story. You can talk about your life, living with someone who has MG. You can get engaged in community fundraising. You can write articles. You can share videos. So many cool ways that you can drive awareness on social media. I did mention Dare to Care. So the Dare to Care community fundraiser. It does kick off on June 1st, but we are asking people to think about and start signing up for Dare to Care even now and into the next week or so. We will have Dare to Care information that will be launching on the myasthenia.org website. And so, as members of the community, you would be able to utilize Dare to Care and build community fundraisers across, your region, your neighborhood, in your office where you work, and in many different places. So, stay tuned for additional information on Dare to Care. So how can you help? Well, like I said, there's so many ways that you can help. You can drive and send emails out to friends and colleagues. You can share information, photos, and videos on social media. You can engage your friends, talk to people at work, maybe have presentations at work. So many different ways that you can get awareness out there and making sure that people understand that June is truly MG Awareness Month around the world. It's really exciting. Now, we have a couple of special guests, and I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to introduce these folks. We have Carlos, Siobhan, and Hannah. They are patients, they are ambassadors for the MGFA, they are drivers of awareness. They are really just amazing people who we're very close to. They're volunteers, they step up, and they really feel like, a lot of their ideas can be easy to implement and to drive awareness across, many different networks and just getting that word out there. It's really, really cool. Now, I did want to make sure that you know that our chat room in our Q&A is open. So if you have questions or comments, you can definitely share that. And what I'd like to do is first get it over to Carlos so that he can introduce himself, talk about some of the things that he's done to drive awareness, and then we will go to Siobhan and Hannah right after that.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Carlos. I got involved with the MGFA about a year ago in a really personal way. My dad lives with generalized myasthenia gravis. So last year, I decided to write an article about his experience so that more people, like his colleagues, friends, and family, could really get a better understanding of what he goes through on a day-to-day. And so after writing this article, I decided that it would be the cornerstone of my fundraising efforts. So I contacted the MGFA on LinkedIn and I asked for their help in resharing the story, and they did. So from there, I reached out to partner organizations like NORD, as well as to friends and family, making the same request. And I applied that strategy across all social media platforms, seeking assistance to share my dad's story. And now, before I go any further, you're going to see a poll go around because we would love to know how many of you talk about myasthenia gravis on social media. And I'm curious because sharing that one article on social media did more than just raise awareness. It actually became the building block to everything that came next. So if you take away anything from what I'm saying today, is that when you create something, whether it's written or on video, you give your cause a tangible asset that can be shared at scale through your efforts. And so it's something that people can see, they can connect with, they can engage with. And so you might be still wondering, well, what is it that came next? The one article that I shared led to something that I never expected. By getting involved and sharing the story and consistently asking others to share it too, my team raised about 40% of the New York Walk initial goal of 15,000, and then we ended up crushing that goal beyond that altogether. So how did I do that? It wasn't just luck. It came down to effort and a few simple, repeatable strategies. The first is be shameless in your ask. People do want to help you. You just have to ask them clearly and ask them more than once. Secondly, lean on your support system. Have a few go-to friends, family members who are always going to like, comment, and reshare your post so you have a bit of influence on the algorithm. And lastly, some of the best practices that worked for me were include the link to your story, include the link to your team page so it's easily accessible. Use real photos or videos if you're comfortable, because that helps personalize your story. Repost content regularly, update it with fresh content. Use everything that's available to you through posts, reels, shorts, TikToks. Just give your cause a face, a voice across any platform where you might have some presence. And I'll say in final, if you've never done this before, it's totally okay because I had not either until last year. And 1 year ago, I was just sharing this story. Now I'm the co-chair of the New York Walk. I also got invited to the patient conference last month, and continue to get on opportunities to raise awareness and raise funds. And all it takes is one story, one ask, and one post, really. So don't wait until you feel ready. Just start this June.
Carlos, thank you so much. And Carlos is an award winner as well. He has just shown that he steps up in so many different ways and is an amazing volunteer and ambassador for the whole MG community. Carlos, thank you for everything you do. Just a quick thing about the poll that went out. Do you talk about MG on social media? 83% of you have said yes, you do talk about it on social media. So again, social media is such an amazing platform to share information and to engage so many different people within your community, but then even outside of your community. Let's go to Siobhan. Siobhan, talk to us about some of your ideas for awareness.
I'm Siobhan. I live in southeastern Connecticut. I have congenital myasthenic syndrome, so it's a little bit different. I was misdiagnosed for about 10 years, from birth to age 10 until I was properly diagnosed. I've done a lot of awareness walks in my city of New London, Connecticut. It started probably 2016, I want to say. And I had gone to my mayor, shared my story, and asked him if he would do a proclamation. So it kind of started with a proclamation. And then we went into doing walks every year until COVID happened. About 2019, I started doing a lot of advocacy and awareness down in DC for Rare Disease Week on Capitol Hill, which kind of spiraled me into MGFA. So MGFA, I had written an article for them last year, shared my story with them, and now I'm the ambassador for legislation and advocacy with MGFA. I'm also the chair for the Boston Walk, as well as the lead for the Boston Community Health Fair. So fundraising, I've done a lot of fundraising in local areas, local businesses in our area. I just had one last night. We held a fundraising dinner at one of our local restaurants. The owner knows me, but also I went in and shared my story with her when I first met her. So she's always been supportive, whether it's donating and just sharing my story with the people that she knows in the restaurant. We had done another fundraiser a couple of weeks ago down at a pizza place downtown, where they did 10% of their proceeds from a few hours of the evening went to MGFA. So I would just encourage people to share your story. That's been my biggest thing. And I know a lot of my fellow MGers, that's the same thing that they do as well, to try to get the word out and raise awareness that way. But the more you share your story, the more aware people are of not just your story, but everybody else with MG.
Siobhan, thank you. It's interesting how, Carlos, Siobhan, Hannah, you do multiple things in terms of driving awareness or fundraising and so on. We're certainly not asking all of you in the audience to do multiple, things or get involved in multiple opportunities. But, again, the theme of taking action, at least do one thing. Do something that, you're passionate about. Maybe it's, drawing up a sign and putting it on your front lawn. Maybe it's, setting up a community meeting at the library or the city hall or something like that. But anything you're really passionate about, do that one thing, because it's just going to make such a huge difference, such a massive difference. If you actually go to the chat right now, you can see the question that Kate posed. What is your favorite way to raise awareness about MG? I encourage all of you to go into the chat and start sharing those ideas. I think it's a great place to capture that kind of information, a great way to share some of your ideas and encourage people. Like maybe one of these ideas would be really attractive or compelling to someone in the audience and say, you know what, I can do that. I can definitely check that out. That's really cool stuff. So I'd like to move on to Hannah. Hannah is an ambassador for the MGFA. She has done so many different things in terms of volunteering, but I really want her to talk a little bit about her trip to Antarctica as well, because again, that trip is kicking off MG Awareness Month for us. So I want to go on to Hannah and have Hannah talk about her ideas.
Hey, thanks, Mike. Can you guys hear me okay? All right, thanks. So I'll tell you guys a little bit about my story first and how I got involved. It kind of echoes pieces of Carlos and Siobhan's story. I think we all kind of intersect nicely there. So I had a really tough time getting diagnosed. I was a new mom, had a newborn, and I had started slurring my speech. I just felt really weak all the time. I was having blurred vision. It was just kind of stuff stacking on top of each other, getting worse and worse during that first year of parenthood. And I had to really self-advocate. I spent hours every day after work. I would be Googling and researching and going to the National Institute of Health and looking up medical abstracts and trying to look up symptoms and trying to get good, like solid educational resources to help me understand what was happening to my body. Because at that point, no one had told me myasthenia gravis. I just knew I was deteriorating and I was a new mom and I couldn't be there for my family. And the MGFA was there for me with their educational materials and really helped me understand that I think what I have is MG. And that drove me to self-advocate for testing, which came back positive and get me the diagnosis and treatment that I needed. So I'm the ambassador for patient education, one of the ambassadors for patient education, because I'm so passionate about that. And MG awareness for me started from day one of diagnosis. I was afraid to talk about what was happening when I didn't have a name to put on my condition. I had various doctors tell me I was stressed or, I should see a psychiatrist, I'm like, that's not causing slurred speech. That's not causing weakness. That's not causing my face to droop. So as soon as I had an answer for what it was, I wanted to shout it from the rooftops. And my very first MG awareness post, I still share this photo to this day, and it is my least favorite photo of myself. But I try to get comfortable being uncomfortable, and I posted it publicly, and it shows a side-by-side comparison of the facial weakness I was experiencing before and after using pyridostigmine or Mestinon. And that picture was so impactful. I was able to raise awareness to pretty much everyone on my Facebook friends list, everyone who was close to me. And that kind of kickstarted me talking about, hey, what is MG? Most people haven't heard about this. It's a rare disease. Ironically, I was diagnosed shortly before June Awareness Month, MG Awareness Month in 2022. So I dove in as soon as I realized that MG had their own month, and I started fundraising. That was the year before our Dare to Care challenge. It was called the 2740 challenge. So I fundraised that year and I posted different facts the MGFA had shared. For me, it was about telling my story and letting folks know what I'd been experiencing. And then it kind of started to spread into, well, I can make a tangible difference. I can raise funds that go towards research that directly impact treatments. I can share what my symptoms were so that hopefully if someone Googles, inability to smile or facial weakness, maybe that photo that I hate will come up in those search results and help someone else. Because if I'd seen something like that, I think I would have been diagnosed sooner. So it really started as a deeply personal connection tied to education, and then quickly became, okay, now that I'm raising awareness, what else can I do? And I ended up becoming, I was asked to be the co-lead for the young adult support group. So I'm able to interact with folks around my age who have all sorts of versions of myasthenia, be it CMS, which Siobhan touched on, congenital myasthenic syndrome, seronegative myasthenia gravis, ACHR, MuSK, LRP4 myasthenia gravis. So really just raising awareness of the different types, the different treatments, and then as Mike touched on, fundraising to make a difference in that research realm specifically. Now, Antarctica was a pretty exciting part of my journey last year. I have had a goal to visit all 7 continents since I was a kid. And I was super excited and very blessed to be able to have the opportunity to check my 6th and 7th continents off last year. And several months ahead of time, I was actually chatting with Kate, who works with the MGFA and is on this webinar, and said, hey, weird story, but I'm going to Antarctica and I want to use it to raise awareness for MG. What can I do? So she helped me ahead of time. We put together some graphics that I printed out. I laminated them, very carefully packed them in my suitcase and made the journey 9,000 miles with them, crossed the Drake Passage. And I was so excited, literally within an hour of stepping foot on the continent. I had my husband recording a video, holding up a sign saying, "I'm MG strong, even in Antarctica." And I just hope that that will inspire folks who maybe are in a place to where their health isn't where it could be, or their MG isn't responding well to treatment, and that it'll give them hope that, you know what, there's all sorts of options out there, and there's people who are living life and raising awareness so that we can raise money, so we can get better treatment, so we can develop a cure. And if I could have seen myself when I was diagnosed, 3-4 years later in Antarctica raising awareness, I think I would have been really hopeful and happy to see that. So yeah, I prep ahead of time. I usually start about a month before June Awareness Month. I use a tool called Canva, which there's a free option for it and also a paid version. I happen to have a paid version personally, but you can build different graphics out. So to Carlos's point, I take as many pictures as I can at MG events, so the health fairs, the conferences, or even when I'm just hanging out with my friends who also have MG, because I've built this really great community of friends who all are affected by the disease. And then I make it personal. And I share it across all my social media platforms, and I talk about it openly. Even at work, I wasn't feeling well, and I felt kind of weak one day, and I said, "Hey, I'm not feeling well." I was invited to go on a walk with someone. I said, "My MG is kind of bothering me today. Just normalize talking about it. Don't be afraid to normalize talking about it." And so just, getting comfortable being uncomfortable, leaning in, and just sharing with your audience as far and wide as you can, and prepping ahead of time are really my big key takeaways.
Hannah, that's great information. And normalizing the conversation. That's such an important point. I think that, it's education. It's educating your colleagues and friends so that they better understand the situation that you're in. And you know what? They just feel like, it's just part of who Hannah is, and that's great. I think having that education, having those transparent conversations are very important because it's making you feel more comfortable. It's making all of your friends and colleagues more comfortable as well. So I think that's really important. We're going to run another quick poll. Before we do that, we're getting some cool comments that are coming in. I did want to make sure I just want to make sure that you were aware that on our website on myasthenia.org, on the awareness page, there is a toolkit, and there's information about how to, like some of the ideas about driving awareness and information like that. But Jill is asking a couple of things. She's thinking about having a fundraising dinner at a local restaurant and maybe some easy walks. Would any of you like to maybe just volunteer, maybe some helpful tips and tricks about, creating a fundraising dinner, or maybe, setting up an informal walk? Siobhan, you want to start?
Sure. So I kind of just picked, well, the two places that I had picked for this year, I had one I didn't know the owner, one I did know the owner really well. So more so for the one that I didn't know, I just went in with a little bit of MGFA literature about what MGFA does, as well as I went in to share my story personally with them and just kind of asked them, like, we're doing a walk in Boston because that's where I'm the chair for. Would you be willing to uh, do like a partial proceeds night? Some places will, I don't know, make a drink after you and do proceeds from that one drink to the fundraiser. But like I said earlier, just going into places, even though it's scary, go in and share your story, because a lot of people have no idea what MG is. And when they hear about it, they want to help. And um, even if it's 10%, some places will do 50%. It just kind of depends on, where they're at financially. But go in and share your story and just ask them what they're willing to help you with.
Yeah, Siobhan, I'll touch on that too. This is the first year that I'm going to be doing doing a fundraiser like at a local business. And I reached out to two businesses. One is national and one is local. And I still haven't gotten an answer back on the local one. But I had a really great email exchange with the individual, because he responded and said, "Hey, Hannah, I've never heard of myasthenia gravis, but I went to the website you provided and learned about it." And that's really cool. Even if they aren't able to host a fundraiser for us, now one person knows more about myasthenia gravis. And if they ever cross paths with someone who has it or who has symptoms, they'll know about it and be able to talk with them.
That's great. Jill, definitely reach out to Erin Turner from the MGFA team as well to hear more about MG walks. But just, maybe really quick, Carlos, Siobhan, talk a little bit about your upcoming walks.
I could start. So our walk here in New York takes place in Queens. It is in September on the 13th on Saturday at Roy Wilkins Park. We would love to have as many of you there as we can, participating, joining a team, starting a team. So we'd love to see you there. If you have any questions ahead of it, please contact me or Matt, who is the also co-chair here in New York as well.
So for Boston is actually next Saturday, so very soon. So it's in Boston at the Christian Herder Park, May 31st. Starts at 10. Registration, I think, is between 9 and 10. Erin Turner is our MGFA contact. I'm working with her for that walk, so definitely reach out there for that. Yeah.
Great. And definitely check myasthenia.org, the MGFA website. Go to the events tab and check out the MG walks. The list of MG walks are there. You can sign up, you can register, you can just participate or, attend and be part of the community. So that's great. 2 cool walks coming up really soon. A couple of other great things in the chat. Kathy says that her daughter wears a walk t-shirt when she goes out shopping. It's an MG walk t-shirt. Just a few weeks ago, a young woman who was recently diagnosed with MG, they met each other because of the shirt. And before they parted ways with a hug and tears, this woman was armed with education and resources, right? So, just by wearing a shirt and walking around, if it's a teal shirt with the MGFA logo on it. We also have shirts that say, tell me about your MG, right? It's an open invitation to talk about myasthenia gravis and to educate people. Dave says last year we had an ice cream social, and this year we're hosting our very first community health fair in Denver, which is June 7th. The community health fairs are amazing. There's 14 of them. They're sanctioned by the MGFA, and they are, literally opportunities around the country in various cities to hear from medical experts, clinicians, researchers who are focused on MG patients and trying to figure out what are some of the new treatments that are out there, what is MG all about, where can we get education and materials. But the fair also has a component where you can meet with various sponsors of the MGFA, learn about the current treatments that are FDA approved, but also get educational materials from the MGFA. So it's just a great way to convene and bringing people together. And that's what we love to do at the MGFA as well, is bring people together to talk about MG. Let's run that poll. Favorite way to raise awareness. And we have a couple of choices. Obviously, there's more, but if you could take that poll, and we'll take 30 seconds to go through that and, highlight some of the cool ways that you can drive awareness, some of your favorite ways to drive awareness. Carlos, talk to us a little bit about, maybe some of the sports awareness that you've talked about or that you know about based on your experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the ideas that we've kind of been fleshing out is getting the community together outside of some of these, health-based events. One, so that we could raise awareness. 2, so that we can, get together and continue the conversation about MG. So I had a conversation here with the Mets at Citi Field and just trying to see what kind of opportunities we have to raise awareness. So one of the things that we could do on a larger scale is that they can have us on the field, have the MGFA do a 30-second public service announcement, put the logo of the foundation on the scoreboard, welcoming the community. And so those are just some of the things that you can do. It doesn't have to be, a professional sport, and it doesn't have to be something that large either. You can also ask for the scoreboard message, just like during the 7th inning at any game, and take a picture of it, share it on social media. And it's really something that, can really just boost morale and efforts here.
Carlos, that's great too. We've had volunteers and awareness members light up structures in buildings around the country in teal. So the teal color, which symbolizes myasthenia gravis. We've had major government buildings, bridges, Niagara Falls, by the way, is going to be lit up in teal on June 1st. So on June 1st, make sure that you go to the Niagara Falls Live website and check that out. That's going to be really fun, really impressive. So again, that's on June 1st. We're sharing the latest poll, favorite way to raise awareness. Certainly social media continues to be a primary, a kind of a primary channel for us, which is great. But, you know, again, community fundraisers, even doing local walks in your community at various parks, things like that, wearing teal, whether they're shirts, hats, getting manicures, bracelets, things like that. Great ways to drive awareness. Really, really fun ways. Let's see, we can stop sharing that poll. And I think, as you know, maybe some parting comments, and I'll continue to monitor the chat if there are other ways that people can share. Oh, actually, you know what? Let me share this real quick. Janelle says that instead of her friends buying coffee, she asked them to donate $5 to an MGFA walk, and it boosted her donations so much that she moved to the top as the top fundraiser in a Florida walk. So that's actually super cool, right? Instead of buying a coffee, donate $5 to the MGFA walk, and it boosted Janelle's donations. So that's another cool story. Really great stuff. I would love to have our guests offer maybe some last parting tips, suggestions, anything that we should all be thinking about when it comes to driving awareness.
Yeah, Mike, I'm curious how many folks online have signed up for Dare to Care. Do we have a poll for that?
There it is.
I forgot during my part, so figured I'd ask now.
Yeah, we'll run that poll, and we'll give that another couple of seconds. It looks like there are a number of resounding no's at this point, which is a problem. That's an issue.
Well, Dare to Care, I think, is a great opportunity if you're not somewhere where a walk is located. So I used to live in Florida and was able to participate in the walk when I lived there, but now that I live in Colorado, we don't have a walk this year. So I'm planning on leaning full into Dare to Care for the third or fourth fundraising year in a row that I'll be a part of. I see some folks in the chat are asking where to sign up. Maybe we can put that link. I'm going to do a little plug for my team. So I've created a fundraising team for our young adult support group, and we welcome all ages, whether you attend the group or not, if you want to join. Right now we're 2 strong. I know we can get bigger, but we're pretty excited to raise awareness, pull in our networks, and then also raise those critical funds that go towards medical research and things such as the patient conference and the community health fairs, which I think we all benefit from in some way as members of the community. So great opportunity if you can't participate in a walk locally, or maybe you aren't feeling physically up to a walk. The great thing about Dare to Care is you can do it all from your computer or your phone. So join me.
Yeah, based on that poll, looks like no one has signed up for Dare to Care yet. That'll be launched on our website, so certainly check out myasthenia.org in the coming days, and we're launching that, and you can start moving into that. A couple of other quick points before we get to Siobhan and Carlos. Dave mentioned that he was able to get a proclamation from the city of Denver declaring June MG Awareness Month. That is exciting news. Dave, send us a photo, and you can do that. You can share that with the MGFA main inbox. We'd love to be able to post that. You can also go to the MG Awareness Month page on myasthenia.org, and there's a kudo board there, and you can upload the photo to the kudo board. That's really cool stuff. It looks like some more comments from Nancy about the Niagara Falls on the Canadian side and getting some photos. Definitely send those photos to us. That is super exciting stuff, and we want to make sure that we can share that with the wider community through photos and images and things like that. Carlos and Siobhan, you want to close out?
Sure, I would say as a final encouragement, if you really understood the magnitude or the impact that you guys can have on the efforts of this foundation and for the community, I think that you would think about this month different in all our walks and all our initiatives that we have. You know, the impact that you have is great. So please sign up for a walk, share your story, donate, join our foundation.
And I'm just gonna kind of repeat what Carlos said. Just share your story. Another thing about the walks, if you can't physically do the walk, you're still more than welcome to come and hang out. And I know at the walk in Boston, I have a DJ coming, and we have lawn games and vendors, and so there's other stuff to do than walk. So don't feel like you can't come because you can't walk it. We would love everybody to come. So share your story, keep talking about it. Like Hannah said, come out of your comfort zone to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, the walks this year are more like parties, more like outdoor get-togethers, which is really, really cool. Hannah, anything else that you'd like to say?
No, just to Carlos's point, like you got to take that first step, and you can do as much or as little as you want, but everything that you put out there is feeding that large knowledge base online or on social media, and it's just one more touch point to impact folks and to connect with folks. Kind of a closing thought that I do have is to Carlos's point about writing your story, even looking for unconventional avenues to do that. I was able to share my story at a newsletter at work. You know, I ended up having a coworker reach out and say, I have MG, and I didn't know anyone else like had this illness and worked full time here. And that person's still in touch with me. So it's just a really great way to connect with folks and, you know, get out of your comfort zone. What's the worst that can happen? You educate people. So
That's great stuff. Before we sign off, if you go to the chat, there are some resources and information, a couple of links that my colleague Kate has added, so you can check those out. Again, I wanted to thank all of you for being part of this. We are recording it, and so it's a great opportunity where we will be pushing this out and distributing it widely to the MG community to drive additional awareness ideas and opportunities. It's about taking action, right? It's about doing something small or doing something really large that you feel passionate about to drive awareness. So don't be afraid to step up and take action, because by taking action, you are driving awareness, and then that awareness creates additional action moving forward. So let's get the word out there globally. Let's make this June one of the greatest MG awareness months of all time. And again, I thank you all. I thank our sponsors for helping us out and being a part of these webinars. Enjoy MG Awareness Month. Good luck. Have a great time. And we will talk very, very soon. Thank you so much for your time.